Good. Perfect. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. My name is Tracy Barsavages. I'm the Executive Director of the Delaware County Transportation Management Association. We'd like to welcome you all to this morning's webinar, which promises to be a wealth of information regarding transportation projects and activities that are going on in that part of the county that is adjacent over to the I-95 corridor. We're going to hear a legislative update from Senator Kearney, and then Merlene Sabal from PennDOT District 6 will be discussing what's going on with the Route 420 Wanamaker Bridge. That's going to be fixed long term. And then David Schwartz from Bergmann Engineering will be discussing the plans for a multimodal study along the Route 13 Chester Pike corridor. That's a really exciting project for us, as this is the first time that DCTMA has been able to qualify and has been awarded this type of funding as a grant award from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. So this is just yet another avenue for bringing competitive funding into Delaware County. So it's really exciting for us. So you'll be hearing from our engineering consultant on the project. First, a couple of housekeeping issues. We are recording this for future viewing on the DCTMA YouTube channel. So we will post the link on our website, and we will also send that out to our partners so you can log on if anyone from your organizations you feel should have this information. It's really good for law enforcement and for any first responders. So we have a lot to get to today. We will introduce our first guest. Senator Tim Kearney was first elected to the 26th district in 2017, maybe, serving portions of Delaware and Chester counties. After winning re-election in 2022, Senator Kearney kept his appointment to the Senate Transportation Committee, and we are very pleased and happy that you're able to join us again for your next term. He also serves on committees for education, appropriations, and for local government, of which he is the Democratic chair. Good morning, Senator. What's the good news from the committee today?
Good morning, Tracy. How are you? I think the good news is that we're talking about so many great projects for right here in Delaware County. I mean, the work that PennDOT did on the 420 bridge to get it reopened was nothing short of well, let's say wonderful. I don't think it was miraculous, but it was wonderful. And I'm particularly proud of the work that's being done on the Chester Pike corridor, mainly because of the way we brought so many disparate people together. I mean, I say we help support it, but the way that that you and the county planning department and the consultants really brought together these disparate municipalities along Chester Pike is really a wonderful thing, and one of the reasons that I've got involved in government. But you know, in terms of what's happening in Harrisburg, the legislature's been absent for quite a while things are sorted out in the House. But there's still plenty to talk about when it comes to transportation policy. The Senate convened for only a few days in January, but during those quick session days, two of the only substantive bills that came out of the Senate Transportation Committee. So Senate Bill 35 passed the Senate on a split vote, excuse me, and would prevent the Pennsylvania gas tax from automatically increasing based on the price of gas. Without getting too much into the weeds about exactly how the legislation works, I'll just say the bill is controversial because the cost of transportation, construction, and repair projects has increased considerably in the last few years. And gas tax revenues have flatlined due to people buying more fuel-efficient vehicles or driving less. So we're doing fewer transportation projects because of this dynamic, but the projects are still there. Senate Bill 121 also moved from the Transportation Committee. This was a bill to rapidly curtail the transfers from the state's motor license fund to the PA State Police. Now, normally we make decisions about appropriations during the budget process, not as standalone bills. We'll see if this gets any traction. But in general, we should not be raiding the motor license fund to pay for state police. We have obligation to do that. We can do it in other ways. So I'm looking to see how this kind of works itself out. Now, in terms of an update for transportation policy, a lot of people are wondering what to expect from the Shapiro administration and the new dynamic in Harrisburg, with a closely divided House and the Senate basically slightly different, but a lot of new faces on the Republican side. We're all waiting to hear the governor's budget address in March to know what his priorities will be. In the meantime, he's kind of made it clear that he wants to emphasize bipartisan policies. And when it comes to transportation funding, that could mean updating registration fees for electric vehicles or piloting mileage-based user fees for electric vehicles. But Republicans continue to push against more comprehensive funding talks. So I'm not sure if Shapiro will push on that particular issue himself. In terms of transit, some legislators in the region have been keeping tabs on SEPTA's bus revolution. And for those of us paying attention, it's clear that a big change is needed to deal with significant ridership losses. It's also clear that change is going to cause a lot of anger. It seems like riders and SEPTA alike agree that a budget neutral revolution is not ideal, and that we finally need to sit down and have a real conversation about funding. It's high time that Pennsylvania authorize local revenue tools for the SEPTA region. We're not competing with other metropolitan regions when it comes to local investment in transit, and SEPTA is missing out on federal grant opportunities in economic development because of it. So those are the big issues from Harrisburg. You can always contact my office if you have any questions about things moving forward. And we're back in session on February 27th. I'm looking forward to that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Lots of good information and activity. And as you know, we are always at the TMA, we're always keeping tabs on protected bike lanes. So perhaps during this session, we may see some movement on protected bike lanes, because that's my issue. Thank you so much. We always appreciate the time that you take to join us and to support our DC TMA activities. So thank you so much for being available and helping to get this information out. That's great.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks. So now we would like to turn our attention to some current information and looking at some timelines for the long-term fix and security of the Wanamaker Bridge access to I-95 and Route 291 at the end of Route 420 South over there at that side of the county. As the Senator mentioned, we did experience a temporary closure and detour of that roadway back in December, which was then corrected with a short-term measure that's currently in place. And since this access way is a highly used entrance to I-95, not used just by commuters, but also by freight traffic as well. But here to give us an update is Merlene St. Val. She is an engineer with PennDOT's District 6 office. And if you have any questions for Merlene, please put them in the Q&A and we'll get them to them at the end of the presentation. Merlene, you want to share your screen?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Merlene St. Val. I am the project manager for PennDOT District 6 that is overseeing the final design and subsequent construction for PA 420, the Wanamaker Bridge over Darby Creek. Are you able to see my screen?
No, we can't see that. Are you sharing?
I am.
We don't have it on this end.
Okay, let's see. Screen one, it says it's sharing. I'm not really sure what's happening.
You have a share screen button. There you go.
There you go. All right, so our project is to replace both the southbound and the northbound bridge that carries 420 Wanamaker Avenue over Darby Creek in Tinicum Township and Prospect Park Borough in Delaware County. Part of the construction as well is a pedestrian trail, which would be coming from both sides of the bridge, and you can see the trail here in the green. The trail will provide a connection to the adjacent John Hines Wildlife Refuge. As was mentioned earlier today, on December 7th, PennDOT closed the southbound Route 420 bridge following discovery of significant beam and bearing pedestal deterioration. We did execute an emergency repair operation, which was completed within 2 weeks of the bridge closure. The bridge reopened on December 20th. The design package has since been completed for the new construction, and then it is currently advertised for bid. So we have contractors that are currently looking at the package, and we are hoping within the next 5 to 6 weeks, we'll have responsible bids, and then we'll have a letting for the project hopefully by March 23rd. Construction for this is anticipated to be 3 years, 3 construction season, because we will be doing the construction as the bridge stays open. We anticipate having 1 lane southbound open and then 2 lane northbounds open as we are building this construction. This shows you that the trail will be ducking under the new bridge. So that way, both side, northbound and southbound, will have access to the wildlife refuge and also Prospect Park. This is our bridge right here that is crossing Darby Creek. And then all of the paving work here is to end at 4th Avenue. We do have some signal work that is to be done as well on the 4th Avenue street in terms of maximizing, optimizing the time at that intersection. I do have a rendering that shows what the bridge would look like, what we're anticipating that to be once we are done with the construction. Tinicum Township and the Wildlife Refuge is proposing a mural within this area here of the abutment of the bridge. I think they are trying to solicit different designers to come up with a mural that will be fitting of this area here. This would be the trail that ducks underneath the bridge for bicycles or any pedestrian that wants to use this area as well. And we anticipate construction to end by the fall of 2026.
Wow, that is beautiful. And from my opinion, a great improvement. That's just a gorgeous roadway. Does anyone have questions? Marlene, I did receive one question via text. Will the work be done during the day or at night?
The work will be done during the day, and I'm sure that there's some beams, setting of some of the beams will probably require some night work, but then all that information will be provided to the township, both Tinicum and Prospect Park, ahead of time to let them know as to what that will entail.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, we understand that the significance in terms of traffic within that area, and one of the big things is to try to make sure that we do not close the bridge while this construction is underway. So the intent is to build the middle section of the bridge that where all of the utilities can be attached. We keep both lanes open northbound. We keep 1 lane open southbound, especially with the repairs that was done. It affords us that ability to be able to do so. That way traffic will continue as the new bridge is being built. I understand that it will be a significant inconvenience to a lot of the people that live within the area, and we are trying to minimize that as best as we can. But the intent is for you to have a new roadway with a brand new structure, hopefully lasting 100 years.
Okay. So we have another question. The rendering of the bridge shows the trail going under the bridge.
Yes.
Is that rendering showed at high tide or low tide? And will the trail be susceptible to be underwater at any time?
The trail will probably be underwater at some times, depending on high tide, because I think in that area, I'm not really sure as to what the 100-year flood is within that area. The railing system is there to kind of help with a lot of the debris, but I believe that it will be underwater at high tide.
Perfect. And another question we have is, how wide is the trail?
10 foot wide in some section and 8 foot in others. Let me try to bring back the cross section.
Are there any other questions for Marlene? So you anticipate starting sometime in the spring or summer of this year, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, perfect. So we will look forward to information from District 6 that we can help get out to the local constituents, as well as timelines and things like that, so that we can help in any way to make those traffic processes a little easier in that area.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing the information with our partners. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. So now it's time to take a look at the upcoming multimodal transportation study. This is going to encompass Route 13, or as we know it, the Chester Pike. And this includes the area in Ridley Park, Prospect Park, Glen Olden, Norwood, and down through Sharon Hill. One of the reasons that the DCTMA did have success in obtaining this funding for TCDI study. And TCDI is Transportation and Community Development Initiatives. And this is a grant from like I said, the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. And we approached the Chester Pike Corridor Improvement Partners because these are 5 separate municipalities that had a shared vision of community and economic development and formed their own 501c3 cooperative of those 5 municipalities that I mentioned. These Chester Pike Corridor Improvement Partners did enlist the help of the Delaware County Planning Department and collaborated on forming a corridor master plan, which was unveiled back in December of 2022. As part of that master plan, this multimodal study is kind of a next step out of the master plan, pulling out those objectives that are related to various modes of travel and ensuring safe, accessible travel for everyone, as this roadway is very different from beginning to end. And so because we at the DCTMA are not engineers, we did enlist the services of a project manager on the job, is David Schwartz of the Bergmann Engineering firm. Dave has over 23 years of traffic engineering experience and specializes in multimodal circulation and safety. And as a hybrid transportation planner and engineer, Dave is the ideal lead, combining technical traffic experience to addressing traffic congestion, also focusing on pedestrian safety and multimodal circulation. If you will please welcome David Schwartz from Bergmann, and please remember to put any of your questions in the Q&A. Dave, you want to take it away?
Sure, thanks a lot, Tracy. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully this will work. Let's let me know if you can hit share. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Put in. Perfect.
Great. Thank you very much. So if I and just in case I do start talking too fast, or I'm using, if I kind of mold into planning jargon, please let me know. Just put the thing in the chat, say something. I usually say throw something at me, but on Zoom that might not be too effective. So just let me know. I'll try to go slow, and I'll try to leave some time here though for questions at the end. So let's go through a quick quick little introduction of our team, go through our approach for the project, review the schedule, and then, like I said, leave some time for some questions at the end. So our team, these are some of our key staff members for Bergmann, and Bergmann recently merged actually with the Colliers Engineering and Design, formerly Maser Consulting. So we're going through a name change at some point later on this year. So by the time we're done with the study, we'll probably be doing this as Colliers or a CED. But anyway, we are, after the merger, we're a mid-sized firm. We're I think that we're a Goldilocks sized firm. We're big enough to where we can offer a lot of different services, a lot of people who specialize in certain fields, but we're small enough where every project matters. We're not one of those firms where if you're not doing $1 billion design build, you're shoved away in the basement. We do have a pretty good customer service. As Tracy mentioned, my specialization is in transportation planning and engineering. I'm a bit of a hybrid in a plan engineer, as we're called sometimes, planner and engineer. So I bring along some technical aspects of engineering, but also some sensibilities with regards to planning. And my specialization really is multimodal planning. Our subconsultant for this is Imperial Traffic and Data Collection. This is a firm that specializes in data collection. That's what they do. It's pretty much all that they do. And so they know what they're doing, do a very, very good job at it. They serve the entire Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region. And they are a certified disadvantaged business enterprise, women-owned business in Pennsylvania, DBE-WBE. All right, so our approach for this project, I'll go through this kind of quickly. We're just starting it right now, but the first thing that we're doing is setting the foundation, getting our existing conditions set up. Public outreach of this, DCTMA will be leading that effort, but we will be contributing to them with regards to some of the various specific tasks related to outreach. I'll talk a bit about our data analysis, our development of our alternatives and our preferred alternative, and finally prioritization and implementation. And implementation is something you will see throughout the course of this study. We are very, very big in implementation. It is the key to every project. So you'll hear that numerous times as they go through this. So for the foundation, as Tracy mentioned, Delaware County Planning Department put together the Chester Pike Corridor Master Plan. It was released actually just a few, I guess, last month now. It's a great plan. I've read through it. They provide a lot of information on all the intersections in the area, crash data, ridership for SEPTA, and inventory of some of the pedestrian and bike facilities along the corridor. We're going to build upon this. We're not going to redo it, but we'll build upon what has already been done. We'll identify some key destinations, figure out if they have proper access. We'll do traffic counts. There are 30 signals along the corridor. So we're doing counts at every signal. That will start in March. So if you could give police a heads up, there'll be some funny looking devices at some of those areas, some tubes on the road. Want to make sure that they're aware of those and don't think that there's something there that shouldn't be there. It's happened before. So just give them a quick heads up that'd be great. We will go through an inventory of the signals and some of the intersections in the area and come up with an assessment of what's out there, of what's currently out there. One thing that we'll do when collecting this data, we always want to have an eye ahead and look towards our recommendations. So I want to be sure that they're feasible first and foremost. I want to recommend things that can't happen. Safety obviously is also going to be huge. As you see the figure here from that study, these are the bike and ped crashes over the past, I believe, 5 years. So there have been a lot in and near the corridor. And of course, want to make sure that people that from a circulation standpoint, that's comfortable to walk along. The goal here is not just to make the area safe from a technical standpoint, but to make it welcoming and comfortable. So people will want to walk or potentially bike, on or near the corridor. Some community engagement, like I said, this will be a DCTMA lead. There was recently a survey actually as part of the previous plan that was given out to all the boroughs involved in the study. We're going to build upon that. We're going to try and get some more involvement from some communities, in particular Sharon Hill, where we got some lower response rates than other areas. So we're going to build upon that a little bit. And one thing that's not totally public outreach, but is public outreach adjacent, I guess, is stakeholder outreach. We want to chat with stakeholders who can help to implement some of these projects. It could be some business owners, PennDOT. I'm glad to see some PennDOT folks around the call. This morning, we're talking to them at some point, but really want to engage them one-on-one individually to see what can be done, possibly during the project or shortly thereafter. So for our data analysis, like I said, we'll look at safety. That's me, you know, the first and foremost thing that we look at. The study that was just done has a great inventory, a sidewalk inventory. Delaware County actually has sidewalk inventory for the whole county. This is what looks like for Chester Pike. Identify some areas that are where sidewalk is missing or where it's been damaged. So we'll be looking at that and doing a kind of a deep dive into some of the specific areas that need some TLC. We look at ADA compatibility, not just at the signals. Actually, most signals have pretty good ADA facilities right now. Not all of them are perfect, but they're pretty good. But we also want to look at this from a corridor standpoint, from a circulation standpoint. Where can people get to reasonably well who have issues with mobility? And one thing that's getting a little bit into the weeds, but signal timing adequacy. Sometimes we want to make sure that people have the ability to safely cross Chester Pike in the time allotted. Sometimes signals are timed for the average adult healthy foot speed of 4 feet per second. Doesn't take into account those who are elderly or children or those who in wheelchair have other issues with access. Want to make sure that we adjust timings if need be to provide for those individuals. And then circulation will be the other thing that we look at as part of our data analysis. Look at the destinations, as I mentioned earlier. Make sure that people can access those destinations safely and efficiently. If there are additional spots where we need to look at crossings, either at signals or mid-block locations. As far as bike facilities goes, this map here off to the right is not the prettiest map in the world, but it's something that DVRPC, Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, has put together. It's called the level of traffic stress. As you can probably see, if you can see my mouse here, red is bad. Chester Pike, it's all red. So we're going to look, you know, for in some cases, we might be able to add some facilities along Chester Pike. The other thing we want to look at, though, are potential lower stress alternate routes. This actually already exists in the county. If you're familiar with Baltimore Avenue, there is actually you can't see it on this map. It's a little bit north of here, but there's a Baltimore Avenue, Baltimore Pike. If you're familiar with it, it actually is busier than Chester Pike. It is you know, some parts of it are extremely difficult to traverse and very difficult in particular on bicycle. So they developed the county has developed the Bike Baltimore Avenue route, which goes from Swarthmore right here all the way east into the city. So we'll look at something similar along Chester Pike, a parallel route. We could call it Bike the Pike or something cute like that. We'll think about that, but want to look at some ways to get connectivity without necessarily blowing up the whole road and redoing it. We also will look, there's some areas along the Pike that are actually 3 lanes in one direction or the other. So I want to look to see if there's some areas where maybe we can look at lane reductions or road diets, as they're sometimes called. So look into that as part of this analysis. Now, for alternatives, the project I'm going to show here it was a bike circulation. It was a bike study. It's similar to this. Actually, it's Eastern Delaware. It was in Eastern Delaware County. A little bit different, but the same kind of overall strategy. The first thing, like I said previously, destinations and demand, and we'll get that through some of our counts and through some of our survey that we'll send out. Safety and comfort, I mentioned that previously. Want to make sure that these areas are safe and comfortable to travel. With public input, and eventually we will develop our project and program recommendations. This figure you see here was for a area-wide study. We're doing a corridor study, so it'll be a bit different, but similar overall process, if you will. And for the preferred alternative, obviously, we will be using the latest guidance. The new, it's called the MUTCD, or the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. That is supposed to come out in May of 2023. Last year, I was saying it's coming out in May of 2022. So hopefully this year they're not lying to us, and will come out the new version of that. So we'll be looking at that. PennDOT recently did a new design manual. They've expanded a lot of things, done some very good changes. I think the previous manual had 7 pages on bike facilities. The new one has 73, which is good actually. That means they've added things, they've added more flexibility to what you can do for bike and ped travel. AASHTO has some guidance as well. And then the what you see at the bottom there, the 20 flag design guide. That's, I don't want to get too down, I won't go too far down a rabbit hole here, but basically what this is this is a bicycle and pedestrian specific safety analysis that we want to do at 2 to 3 key locations, areas that are of particular importance or particular safety concerns. It is a very in-depth kind of assessment, but it could be used for a pilot location. That's kind of what people are looking for. What can be done at one location from a geometric standpoint, from a traffic control standpoint, really figure out some of the ways that we can get some high priority items done quickly. Implementation, prioritization and implementation. So I don't know if you can see this, this is a little table over here. This again is from that study I just talked about a second ago. For prioritization, what we will do is we'll look at what what is supported by the public, what is locally supported. We'll look at need or quantitative assessment of certain things, whether it's crashes, whether it's LTS, level of traffic stress, whatever it is. And finally, the ability to implement. And that's huge. That's something that is probably one of the more important things. We don't want to propose anything that's a pie in the sky. I did a study years ago for a comprehensive plan, actually, for a community. They had recently done designs for a new or for a complete reconstruction of a road in their community. They said, we want this to be centerpiece of our plan. I said, great. How much does it cost? I said, $40 million. I said, great. Do you have $40 million? I said, no. I said, okay, does PennDOT have this planned? They said, well, it was taken off their tip. I said, okay, great. Tell you what, we'll take this plan, we'll put it in there, but at the bottom, towards the back. If you got to extract plutonium during a sewer job, God bless you. Go ahead and build what you want to, but it is not something you want to put front and center. We can think big, but I'll say we should start small. So this is what we want to do, do some things to build momentum towards more transformative change. So we'll go through these different things. We'll weight them in different ways and come up with a list. And it's not just going to be a list, actually. One of the things that we always do when we position projects towards implementation, we don't want to just give you a big matrix saying, here's 50 things, here's your list of chores, go ahead and do them. We're going to actually focus on the highest priority items and try to advance them towards implementation, whether it's with PennDOT, whether it's through DCED or grants with, DCED is the Department of Community and Economic Development. DVRPC mentioned that before, there are grant opportunities. Some of these things can be done while the project is underway. I never want to wait till the end and then do things. I always want to look to see what can be done while the project is moving along. One thing that we definitely want to look at for Chester Pike, PennDOT. This is PennDOT's 5-year paving schedule. The purple is 2025. This project is scheduled, or this study is scheduled to be done in the summer of 2024. And PennDOT is resurfacing a huge chunk of Chester Pike. And the PennDOT has gotten very, very good, by the way, at approaching communities and talking to them. And this study would be a great one, I think, to bring up while this project is being planned out, to say, hey, here's some things that we're looking at for Chester Pike. What can you incorporate as part of the resurfacing? So I want to, so one of the things we have actually in our schedule, you'll see in a second, is implementation meeting with PennDOT and other stakeholders. I know that the boroughs are looking at potentially a Main Street designation, which opens you up for more funding options. So we're looking at all those things as we move through the projects. And then just finally, I want to close up here with our schedule. Just started. We are here in February right now. So this schedule is something that was in our proposal. Not a whole lot has changed. One thing of note I will say is right here. Our first public meeting that DCTMA will be leading is going to be moved to June. We're looking to use the school, and the school is going to be going construction during the summer. So want to get there before the scaffolding's up. So that's one change, but here's the overall schedule. And at the end here, I mentioned before, implementation meeting, want to kind of focus on that. That can be done earlier as well. We just put it there kind of as a placeholder. These are all subject to change, but the plan is to have this done by June of 2024. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you have.
Wow, perfect. Thank you so much, Dave. All right, let's go to our Q&A. Here's one question. Is there room for bike lanes along the entire corridor?
Short answer, no. Longer answer, however, there are certainly some areas, I think, where we can put in bike lanes. There are definitely some areas along the corridor, whether it means narrowing travel lanes, or in some cases possibly eliminating travel lanes. I don't know that a road diet along the entire corridor would be feasible, simply because of the volumes. The volumes along this corridor are pretty high. I'm a big fan of road diets, love the conversions from 4 to 3 lanes. I just don't know if that's going to work along Chester Pike. There are some areas, like I said, I think a few minutes ago, where there are 3 lanes in one direction or the other. And we want to do the analysis to see how those are used. Are they needed? And if they're not needed, can we potentially add facilities along some parts of the corridor? There's a lot of corridors out there where you put bike lanes in where you can, and then you shoot people off the road. Actually, that portrays the words, where you direct people off the road to other lower stress locations. So that's certainly something that we'll look at, try to get bikes, bike lanes in here as much as possible, but also having unprotected bike lanes, having just like the striping there, can be a little bit dicey along the road of this character.
Yes, that's why we're big fans of the protected bike lane
I want
legislation.
to, and since Senator Kearney is still on the phone, I am absolutely in favor of I love protected bike lanes. They have them in city of Philadelphia. Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
it comes up there. Good.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are big fans of those. I mean, they are it seems to be a no-brainer.
Yeah. Well, for us out here, let's say, we got some people in the middle of the state that may disagree. So just leave it at that.
You know who they are. Yep.
I do have a text question here. With SEPTA's bus revolution and the possible change of bus stops along Chester Pike, will you coordinate stops and appropriate safety measures with the new bus revolution?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. The bus revolution, I believe, along Chester Pike, actually, they're converting. They're current. I think the way it stands for now is they're. And I have to look at my notes to be sure, but I think there are 2 routes on there right now. They kind of go next to each other, but they go to different areas. I think that they're redoing that to have a continuous route along there. Definitely want to chat with folks at SEPTA and figure out. I mean, for buses, sometimes they have dedicated stops. Sometimes they kind of stop where people, happen to be standing. Do want to coordinate with them a bit to find some good locations. There also, of course, is regional rail going alongside the corridor, and the 102 trolley stops in Sharon Hill. So I want to coordinate with those locations, and of course, this is not part of the short term, but they're also talking about the 102 extension potentially to Darby.
Yes, perfect.
So that would be another thing to kind of just put a bookmark on. See where it goes.
Here's another question from the Q&A. What is the potential for adding any green infrastructure to the Pike during the PennDOT repaving process?
Green stormwater infrastructure, I'm a big fan of that. I know for PennDOT, and I don't want to speak for PennDOT or for the district, obviously, but I do know that they, as far as the resurfacing project goes, if there were to be green stormwater, sometimes there will be some kind of a cost sharing arrangement. I don't know that I mean, I'm not going to say PennDOT will install rain gardens, but I do know that they have like I said before, PennDOT had become it's become very, very good at coordinating with various areas that they're traveling through. Actually, as part of the previous study I mentioned before in Eastern Delaware County, we coordinated with them on a repaving job during the project and got bike lanes installed on Lansdowne Avenue from Garrett Road down to downtown Lansdowne. So I mean, things are possible. Green stormwater can be expensive. It can be maintenance issues with that. Look, we have plenty of time, so we'll definitely talk to people about that, broach that topic. And I know that, this area does have, like a lot of areas in Delaware County, flooding. And I think green stormwater is always helpful.
Right. So Rebecca's suggesting street trees and planted medians.
Street trees are, street trees. I love street trees. And median. And a lot of that stuff can be done through a lot of the grants that are out there. The multimodal fund that can be procured, the Keystone grants. You guys know all about those, obviously, as well.
Exactly. So here is a comment from Tom Schaefer. I heartily agree. This is from Tom. I look forward to the study's recommendations. Some of the preliminary design of improvements will help to get funding. For example, the pedestrian crossing at the SEPTA bus stop at Taylor Hospital.
Yes.
Pedestrians have been hit there, and a conceptual design of a crossing would help getting funding for that.
Taylor Hospital is critical. That is, I am, seeing that hospital, and the fact that crossings to a hospital of all places is kind of hazardous. That speaks to something. And like I said before, we'll look to see if there are things that can be done in the short term. If there's a grant out there that we see that could help to fund some kind of a crossing there, why wait till the study is over? We'll get the data. We'll get the data that supports it, and
Well, Taylor Hospital is one of those facilities that the DCTMA has identified, working specifically with internal folks through the hospital and through Crozier. That's going to be a separate reach out. So more to come on that, but absolutely. And then one more question: will your plans include bus shelters? I'm not sure that this is ours, or if this is an after hours gets done. What do you think, Dave?
So bus shelters usually are I mean, whether or not they're part of this study, I'm not sure. There is a bus shelter design guide that was published a while ago by SEPTA and DVRPC. So we do have some of the dimensions that will be needed for bus shelters. Typically bus shelters, and things have been changing over the years, but usually they are pursued by municipalities. And they're funded sometimes, well, they're funded different ways. Sometimes they are funded through advertising on the shelters. Now that's been changing recently because people are starting to put their money away from the static billboards into the electric ones you see up on the freeways. But there are, there's more than one way to skin a cat or to
right.
put a bus shelter. So yeah, we'll look for ways to fund those. That could be something that's done afterwards. I don't know if it's part of this study, but we will try to find spots that have room for a shelter.
Correct. Well, there's no other questions in the Q&A. I'd like to, David, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been really exciting and really good information about things that are going on in that area of the county.
If there are any
So
other
if there are
questions,
no,
feel free to pass on emails to me.
yes,
I'm
thank
here.
you, thank you. We'd like to thank our guests. We'd like to thank you to David Schwartz. Thank you to Marlene St. Val for joining us from PennDOT and explaining what's going on with 420. That's going to be a project. So look for more information from DCTMA on when those detours are going to, and when that work is going to start. Thank you so much to Senator Kearney and your team. And thanks for joining us and continuing to keep us updated on what's going on in Harrisburg. I'm going to take this moment to give a big shout out to my DCTMA team. Lauren Fink, Marianne Sandone, Allie Strigal, and Terry Salvador for all their hard work and for helping me to make things happen. Please stay tuned for more information from DCTMA on our upcoming Municipal Education Conference, Transportation Demand Management, Opportunities and Strategies for Municipal Governments. Once again, thank you for joining us, and remember to travel safely. Goodbye.